Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of EverTrue Reruns. My name is Scott Cradisci, radio voice of the Brown football team. This week, it's Princeton week, and yes, there's no Ivy League football to speak of because of the pandemic, but we're going to take a trip back to 1986 when the Bears beat the Princeton Tigers 24-10 at the old Palmer Stadium. And joining us to do that, we've got four gentlemen who played football at Brown in the 80s. First, from the class of 86, we have Tom Cole. Tom, how are you?
I'm doing well, Scott. Great to see you. Great to see all the guys.
Thank you for joining us. Also from the class of 86, Barkley Sample. Barkley, how you doing?
Doing well, Scott. Great to see you. And echoing what Tom said, great to see everybody on the call.
Well, thank you for joining us, Barkley. From the class of 1988, Tyler Wolfram. Tyler, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Scott. Go Bruins. Oh, I mean Bears. Sorry.
That's right. No, Bruins. It was the Bruins back then. I'm with you. And then also from the class.
Sorry, and a little slow.
Also from the class of 88, Mark Donovan is with us. Mark, how are you? Oh, I think we got you on mute there, Mark.
I'm great, thanks. Happy to be here. Thanks.
Oh, okay. We had a little delay in the audio. Well, great to talk to you guys. And, Tom and Barkley, I know you guys had actually graduated in the spring of 86. So while we talk, they're going to show the 1986 win over Princeton, which you guys were not a part of, but you were a part of two wins over the Tigers. In fact, from 1984 through 1987, Brown enjoyed four consecutive wins over the Tigers. So you'd remember the 1984 and 85 matchups, Tom, correct?
Yes, absolutely. I think the 1984, if I'm right, that was at Palmer Stadium.
Yeah.
We do not quiz me on the score, Scott. Hopefully you have the stats in front of you. I do know that it was a big win over Princeton. Always nice to beat Princeton.
Yeah.
Particularly for folks who grew up in the Pennsylvania, Jersey area. Princeton is a big name. Penn is a big name, and it was always nice to go to those places, home or away, and come back with a win over schools that were in our area, kind of when we grew up. And what I remember, it was a beautiful day. I don't know that we won that comfortably, but I know that we won. And I do remember the 85 game mainly because two reasons. It was one of our four shutouts that year, as I recall, and it rained like hell. I remember several plays coming back to the huddle completely covered in mud, and our good friend Chris Good just pointing and laughing at me. So those were the memories of that game. But it was a great group of guys, and that year, Mark, Tyler, you guys were sophomores, right? It was it was just a really great group. We had a big class. Big emphasis on defense that year. And like I said, four shutouts and a lot of fun, lots of good memories.
Well, your memory serves you well because you're right. In 1985, which would have been your senior season, 17-0, you shut out the Tigers at home. Barkley, I'm surprised you didn't remember the score the year before down at Palmer Stadium. It was a shootout, 32-30. You beat the Tigers.
Oh,
wow. Remember anything about that game?
Well, it's because we gave up 30 points. So
as a defensive back, that's not good, right?
That's not good at all. And Princeton had an outstanding quarterback who lit us up a couple of years prior to the 85 shutout. So that was always a tough game defensively, just because they were so proficient offensively.
Yeah, you care to share his name?
Doug Butler, I believe, was his name.
Doug Butler, okay. And I understand also you guys played against Superman, did you not?
We did.
Dean Cain?
Dean Cain, also known as the boyfriend of Brooke Shields at the time.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I had forgotten.
Oh, yeah. How about that?
I just remember Cataldo using that as he was kicking the guy when he was on the ground. Back to the
right. Yeah. My recollection of the 84 Princeton game, the one thing that I recall vividly is unsuccessfully chasing someone who caught an out pattern who scored a touchdown. So that stays with me. And I guess they scored a few of them that day, Barkley. I don't know where you were when I was chasing them, but
probably not far behind. Hopefully it was on the other corner and I wasn't on that side of the field. But
anyway.
Tyler, how about the old Palmer Stadium? Princeton's got this brand new, beautiful stadium. I say brand new, it's probably 15 years old now, but what do you remember about playing at the old Palmer Stadium?
So I can't remember if Jason Garrett played then or if it was either Jason and his brother and Judd Garrett, but Jason Garrett followed that other quarterback who was good. So he was always pretty tough. I think, if I got my memory right, I think made an interception at the end of the game. I can't remember if it mattered or not, but I do remember Mickey Urquhart, Chuck's brother, coming and hugging me after the game and saying that I saved the point spread. He was very well aware of what the point spread was. He was very excited about that interception at the end on their final drive, which I don't remember if it mattered for the game, but it mattered to Mickey Urquhart.
Scott, if you're trying to get your head around a title for this segment, stalking and point spreads might be the working title.
They're a thing now. They were a thing back then too.
I'm just happy that Mickey Urquhart made it into our podcast.
No mention of Charlie Urquhart.
No, just Mickey.
Mark, you were the quarterback for that team in 1986. Do you remember anything about this particular game?
I remember it was a gorgeous day. I remember walking out of the locker room and it was just bright and sunny the whole day. And I do remember Superman because we had sort of game plan for Dean Cain. He was pretty aggressive. So I remember we lit him up a couple of times on some double moves. And I don't remember what was the score. We'd scored a couple of points in that game, I thought.
24-10, I think was the final.
Yeah. I felt like we had a pretty good day offensively. I remember the game was it was one of those fun games where you've got it pretty much in the bag in the third or fourth quarter. So it was beautiful and sunny, and it's always fun to be on the right side of those.
Yep. You guys had a bunch of All-Ivy players that year. Walt Cataldo, All-Ivy free safety. Billy Perry, good defensive lineman. I think he was All-Ivy a couple of years. Jeff Watts, Dave Fielding, and Mike Small.
Yeah, good squad that year.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tyler, you yourself were All-Ivy, I think was it your senior year, an All-Ivy linebacker, were you not?
I'm going to go with you, Scott. I can't, sure, let's say yes.
Yeah.
Deserving, if not on the list. I can't recall.
If not on the list, should have been.
There you go, Barkley.
I thought Brian Murphy was all-Ivy too that year.
It was the year before, maybe.
Was it the year before? Okay.
Year before, year after. Yeah, but yeah, Brian Murphy definitely was.
May have been the
year behind us, Barkley. Maybe in between us, right? Tyler?
It definitely was not 85, so it would have been after that. So
Yeah,
either 86 or 87.
It was 86.
Yeah.
Murph was 86, right.
Yeah, so guys from your era, from your team, I should say, Tom and Barkley, your senior year, 1985, the All-Ivies were Ted Muscala, Tom Katna,
Katina.
also
Katina.
Katina. Okay. Oh, they spelled it on the website. I know who Tom Katina is too. Rick Collette, Greg Roth, and Jamie Potkel.
Yeah.
Who was another Jersey guy, so Princeton was always a big deal for him.
Yeah.
Rothy and I were
think that year
roommates at work.
Jamie may have set the rushing record.
He did set the
right?
single season Brown record and the career Brown record that year.
Yes.
Yeah. Since broken, but whatever it was, he had it for a little bit.
So Mark,
tough as nails, Jamie Potkel.
Mark, who'd you throw the football to? Dave Fielding, one of those guys?
Yeah, Dave Fielding, Tommy Smith.
What about Kieran Bigby?
Kieran Bigby.
Yeah.
Pete Zidlicki. That year, yeah, there was a real talent. Jamie Simone. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
A lot of really good players. That helped pad my stats. I just had to put it out there. They went and got it.
Yeah. Tyler, how good was the late Billy Perry? I mean, first of all, what a gentleman Billy was, but what a great football player he was in his prime at Brown, wasn't he?
Great player. Family has a great passion for the school. A great guy. Universally liked. He's one of those guys that never heard anybody say anything bad. Never heard anybody say they disliked him for any reason.
Now,
And
Tom,
I'd put you in that category too. Not so much you other guys. I don't know.
Definitely not in that category.
Tom, you and Barkley played for both John Anderson and John Rosenberg. Tell me what that was like, playing for Coach Anderson, Coach Rosenberg. How were they similar? How were they different?
Barkley, you want to go first?
Okay. I would say more different than similar. It was a pretty dramatic, pretty drastic change between the two of them. I always thought of Coach Anderson as more fatherly, more of a put your arm around you kind of guy. Coach Rosenberg was, although analytics weren't a thing at that time, but it was much more kind of data driven, and it was just not as touchy feely as it was under Coach Anderson and his staff.
Now, Barkley, did Mike Goldberger coach defensive backs when you were a DB?
He did before the changeover. Then we had then when Mike Church took over as defensive coordinator, one of the Browns' heroes football from the 70s, Ronnie Brown, was the defensive back coach. Yep. And we coined a nickname for the secondary called the Wrecking Crew.
Nice.
Does anybody remember Coach Church's pregame speeches the night before?
They were the best.
Yeah.
Awesome. Like the guy always had new material. Do you remember the pregame against Holy Cross? He went on for like 30 minutes about how he hated the color purple.
Yes, it was priceless.
It doesn't sound that relevant, but it was so inspiring at the time.
It was very inspiring. And what he would do is we'd get in the room and he'd start showing film, and invariably he'd just get sick of looking at it, and he'd shut the film on. I'm so sick of looking at is this PG? What are we rated? Anyway, assuming it's PG, I'm so sick of this that's not what he said. I'm so sick of looking at these blobbity blahs. We've been looking at them for all week. And then in the Holy Cross, as Tyler said, he goes on a rant about how he hates the color purple. Seemed like 30 minutes. I don't know how long it was, but it was elegant in its anger. He really, he strung it together. And you're right. He always managed to have you leave that defensive meeting room ready to go play then. After having several, legs of lamb for the pregame dinner, you'd still be ready to go out.
We were always on the offensive side those years with Church. We were always jealous because we walk out of our meetings just normal, and then these guys come barreling out of the walls, like ready to go. Like, whoa, we need some of that.
Oh,
Mark, what was Coach Rosenberg like?
I think Barkley used the right word. Very analytical, very data driven. Thoughtful. Yeah. Always had a different.
You got to give the guy credit. He knew what he was good at, what he was less good at. He knew it was Coach Church who should be doing the pregame speeches.
Exactly. Yeah. He definitely knew his strengths and knew where to delegate. So, and look, he put together a staff that did an amazing job of recruiting guys. I mean, if you look back at those teams and the amount of talent on those teams from all over, but just think about the people on this call right now. I mean, that whole Western Pennsylvania, Eastern Ohio, Maryland, DC area, Philly, Jersey. If you look back at that roster, or those rosters, that it wasn't just Rosie, it was the whole coaching crew. But I still talk about not only the friendships that were developed that are still to this day, but the amount of athletic ability that was in those locker rooms, pretty impressive.
Yeah.
You guys remember Coach Groom?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Talk about the antithesis of Rosie, by the way.
Coach Groom was another guy, Southern boy, coached at University of Maryland, did a great job recruiting that area.
Yeah.
That's probably why I ended up there. I don't know, but Coach Groom was pretty awesome.
So back in the day, you guys all played freshman football, so you were only on the varsity for 3 years. Tyler, your 3 years, you had winning records all 3 years, you and Mark. In 85 and 86, you had identical records of 5-4-1. And then in 87, your senior year, you guys are 7-3.
Yeah, it always seemed like it came down to one game we had to win, and we just couldn't get over the hump. I think it might have been Penn 2 of those years, Harvard senior year.
Yep.
And I have a buddy that I coach with here. He played offensive tackle for Penn at the time. We didn't know each other, but he did remember the poster material or the locker room wall material that was in the paper and all the smack talk before the game, and one of the articles that they wrote where I was saying stuff like, they haven't met anybody. We're 3-0 each of us. We're playing them. They haven't met anybody that hits as hard as we do, and yada, yada, yada. I was all over the locker room, he said. And then they beat us like 33-0.
Yeah, you did start.
Mizio and Flynn ran over me like 100.
You did start 3-0 that year. You have a good memory. You beat Yale, you won at URI, and you won at Princeton before you ran into the buzzsaw that is the Penn Quakers.
Yeah, I think I was talking an equal amount of smack in the parking lot, so that was not it's not a good day for any of us.
That was a long day.
So guys, let's talk about what you're doing today. I know, Mark, you've spent now you're in your 22nd season in the NFL as president of, and congratulations, the world champion Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Never gets old. Love you.
Let's go. We already got the Super Bowl trip planned this year. We came up with that Friday night too. So make sure you're in attendance as well.
I hope to be in attendance. I hope we have fans in attendance. That's the next challenge.
Yeah, and you're working with another Brown guy on your staff, correct?
Yeah, Mike Borgonzi played fullback, a little bit younger than the crew that's on this call, but really, really good guy and really bright future for Mike.
Tyler, Oak Hill Capital, you're the CEO. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing today.
Yeah, so private equity firm that's been around over 30 years. I've been here 20 of those years, and it's been good fun. And the thing that I like best about this are the relationships. But one thing I'd say about the class of '88 and other years, there's a massive Brown network. We still get together all the time. We do deals together. We have fun together. We used to golf all the time together. We go to Super Bowls every now and then together when MD has his team playing. So it's a great crew.
It's awesome. You can tell how close you guys are, even still today. Tom, you're in the law profession, correct?
Yes, I've been with what was Pepper Hamilton, and we just merged effective July 1st to Troutman Pepper Hamilton Sanders. It's about 1,100 lawyers, and I'm based in Philadelphia. I was the managing partner at Pepper for 6 or 7 years, and now I'm the managing partner for the combined firm. So it's good. I do a little bit of labor and employment law when they let me, but mainly it's sort of operating as I don't know what the right term would be in the business world, either president or some C-level, something or other. But trying to manage 1,100 lawyers is challenging, to say the least. But they're a good group, and we got some Ivy League football players bouncing around in all corners of the firm, so that's good. And we get to have rivalries in 23 cities, so it's always good to get on the phone with somebody somewhere else and talk a little smack.
And Barkley, you've been involved in recent years in the nonprofit side of things, have you not?
I have. For the most part, better part of the last 16 years, I've been in the nonprofit world. I veered out for healthcare for about 3 years, but then found my way right back to it. I'm currently in Raleigh, North Carolina, working with Catholic Charities of the Diocese of Raleigh. Been here almost a year now. I started early November of last year. So coming up on a year down here. And my second stint in Raleigh, I was here from 08 to 12, working with Easter Seals UCP in North Carolina and Virginia. So when I left to go to Wisconsin to work for Easter Seals in 2013, I kept my house. And after spending the first winter in Wisconsin, I was silly enough to take the job and start on January 7th. So I just dove right into winter in Wisconsin. And by March of that year, I was like, I had to find a way to get back to North Carolina. So it took me 7 years and change to figure that out, but finally found my way back and back in the house that I had from back in 2012 when I left. And so it's good.
And I know you guys are also involved, and I know how much Coach Perry appreciates it, in the mentoring program, right? I mean, if a current Brown football player wants to pick up the phone and call one of you guys because you might have an interest in your particular profession or area, you're always available. And I think that's a huge recruiting tool at Brown, is our alumni network and the mentoring program that we have as part of the football program.
No, I absolutely agree. It was, I really can't state enough how enjoyable those calls were over the summer when Coach Perry was putting that program together. Being somebody that hasn't been in Providence a lot since we left, I've been back for a couple of games, but I more or less was catching the games at Penn or Princeton as opposed to getting back up to Providence. So being a little bit removed from the program, it was great to be able to, after some period of time, just jump on those calls, with the new staff and just be welcomed back in, just indicative of the type of family that Brown football is, and I'm sure always will be.
Guys, anything else? Any memories from either that 1986 game against Princeton, that season in particular, or maybe just your career, something you remember, on the field, from practice, in the locker room, on campus, whatever it might be?
I remember practice having a lot of good fun times at practice. In retrospect, it's not as much a grind as you think because you make good fun of it. I just remember one thing. MD, you might remember this. Charlie Urquhart's, just so he gets involved. And I had the DB punting ball. We had a ball, we wrote on it, DB punting practice ball. And we would practice our punting before practices. And then we would take the trainer's cart and drive around practice as people were showing up with their helmets on backwards and just do stupid things like that. And everybody seemed to not really care. It was just kind of fun. Coach Groom got a real kick out of it.
Did you
Tyler thinks that nobody cared. After about the fourth time, nobody even paid attention. It was just Tyler driving the cart. Oh, the one thing I remember about freshman football, first of all, to go from high school to then, walk into Brown and then play freshman football as opposed to varsity football was just odd. But I remember our freshmen, all we lived for as freshmen was trying to beat these guys, right? Every time we got to scrimmage against the varsity, that was what we lived for, even more so than the games. And they were real battles. Looking back, hopefully it made them a little bit better, but I do remember the battles of those freshman football practices.
Were your practice fields where they are today? I remember before they put down the turf fields, they had the grass fields and they were two different levels. So when it rained, the lower field got soaked. Is that where you guys practiced back in the 80s?
I don't remember two levels. I just remember that stone wall where you couldn't, Tyler would punt some over there. I'd probably throw some over there, but I just remember that stone wall.
It was always wet. And not only was it wet there, I played baseball also, center field was constantly wet until they turfed it over.
Yep.
And that was when they finally discovered that all along they knew it was like going this way. The field was going this way. All the water was flowing to center field, and Livingston got to live in it, but constantly wet.
Now, Tyler, do you have a son at Brown right now?
I do. I have a son who plays lacrosse there and a daughter who's also there.
Oh.
And just on the alumni network thing, I would say our first at Oak Hill, we never had summer interns from college. And then we started doing it with a couple of lacrosse guys because one was Scott McCaleb, my roommate at Brown, and also at All Ivy cornerback back senior year. His son, we hired him and one of his buddies. And I said, on the lacrosse team also, I said, guys, you're the first guys to do this, so don't mess it up for everybody. And it did just well enough. Part of that was practicing lacrosse with my son on company time, but and drinking beers and telling stories with me out back. But that was part of the deal, and they did a good job. And ever since, we've always had a few Brown athletes every summer.
Mark, last year when the Chiefs were up in Foxborough playing the Patriots, you and Michael Borgonzi both returned to campus to the football offices. You got to see the new offices, the new locker room, which, by the way, was made possible by guys like yourself, generous alumni. What you think of the new offices and new locker room that the team now has?
Yeah, that was a treat. We took our 65 TPT production team and they followed us around the campus, and then we walked through the locker room. And to Tyler's point, over the years, I've tried to support financially the Brown football and the Brown sports program. But, when Tyler and George Pine got together and chaired the committee to redo the locker room, when you got your teammates asking and the impact it can have, that's when I got back more involved. And I appreciate you guys for doing what you guys do, because it does just keep the spirit alive amongst all of us out here. We're all busy, we're all doing other things, and you need that connection. We got to walk through the locker room, got to see the new meeting rooms and everything else, and how they redid the whole space. And it was a little odd, just remembering how we did it, and then to see what they have. It's better, obviously.
Yeah.
But it was a real testament to the efforts of guys like Tyler and George putting that team together.
Now, George was class of 89, captain in 88, his senior year. What year did he transfer from Holy Cross to Brown?
We're not really sure what year
It's good for,
or
yeah,
if
'cause-
he actually ever graduated.
Yeah, these are the questions you got to ask George because he's the only one who has the story, and it changes year in and year
It's
out.
fluid.
Tyler, he hated
mention
purple
that.
too. That's why he transferred.
Exactly right.
Having dinner with Big George on Friday night. So there's the Brown Network having fun. We'll have to ask him.
Well,
Yeah.
give him our best. And guys, thanks for doing this and joining us for a few minutes to reminisce about the old times. You guys sound like you had a hell of a lot of fun on College Hill.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah,
For
we
sure.
sure did. I mean, the Brown experience for all of us, I think, was a unique one. And we could talk about it forever. My brother was there 8 years before I was, so it was a continuum for me, and got to know a lot of folks from his era too. So the network is fantastic. It was a great place. Look, I think we all agree it was an honor to go to a place like Brown and still be able to play football, and for you, Tyler, play football and baseball. And this is a great thing that you're doing, Scott, and we all look for ways to stay connected. So thanks for doing it.
Well, Tom, Barkley, Tyler, Mark, thanks so much for joining us on EverTrue Reruns. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Good to see you
Bye,
all.
guys.
Great seeing
Cheers.
everybody.
Cheers.
Good
Good
seeing
Be
you.
well.
luck this weekend, MD.
See
Thank
guys.
you.
Yeah. Good luck, Mark.
See you guys.
All right. Everybody stay safe.
Yep.
Cheers.
Bye.